War is one of humanity's oldest tragedies, but it is also one of its most powerful engines of change. Across thousands of years, humans have invented tools not just to survive war but to dominate it. Some of those inventions vanished with the conflicts that birthed them. Others reshaped civilization itself. The inventions in this video did not merely make armies stronger. They altered how societies were organized, how power was distributed, and how the world functions even today. These are the top 10 most important inventions of war, not ranked by how deadly they were, but by how deeply they changed history. Bronze weapons, the birth of organized war. Before bronze, warfare was primitive and personal. Stone tools were fragile, uneven, and difficult to mass produce. Violence existed, but large organized armies did not. That changed around 3000 BC when humans learned to alloy copper and tin to create bronze. Bronze weapons were stronger, more reliable, and most importantly, standardized. For the first time, rulers could equip entire groups of soldiers with the same weapons. This allowed the rise of professional armies, fortified cities, and early states. War became organized, planned, and political. Bronze didn't just improve weapons, it created warfare as an institution. The chariot, speed becomes power. For early armies, mobility was everything, and nothing symbolized battlefield speed like the chariot. Emerging around 2000 BC, chariots transformed war across Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, and the Eurasian steppe. They allowed elite warriors to strike fast, reposition quickly, and dominate infantry formations. But chariots also reshaped society. They were expensive, difficult to maintain, and required trained crews. As a result, they created warrior aristocracies, small elites who ruled because they controlled mobility. Empires expanded faster and farther than ever before. The chariot taught humanity a lasting lesson. Speed on the battlefield often matters more than numbers. Iron weapons. The democratization of war. Bronze was powerful but rare and expensive. Iron changed everything. Around 1200 BC, iron weapons spread across Eurasia. Iron was abundant, cheaper, and easier to produce in large quantities. Suddenly, warfare was no longer the domain of elites alone. Kings could arm tens of thousands. Peasant soldiers became viable. Mass armies became the norm. Iron weapons fueled territorial expansion, empire building, and near-constant conflict. War was no longer limited by access to rare materials. Iron didn't just strengthen armies, it made large-scale war inevitable. The stirrup, the rise of cavalry dominance. For centuries, mounted warriors struggled with one critical problem: stability. Without secure footing, striking from horseback was limited. The stirrup solved that. Emerging between the 4th and 6th centuries, the stirrup allowed riders to transfer their full body weight into a charge. Cavalry became devastating shock weapons. This reshaped warfare and society. Feudal systems emerged, centered on mounted warriors who owned land in exchange for military service. Knights, nomads, and mounted empires dominated continents. The stirrup didn't just change how battles were fought, it reshaped class systems and political power for centuries. Gunpowder, the death of the medieval world. Gunpowder began as an experiment in China. Its consequences destroyed an entire age. By the 13th century, cannons and firearms began appearing across Eurasia. Castles that once took years to siege fell in days. Armor became obsolete. Knights lost their dominance. Gunpowder shifted power away from individuals and toward states. Only centralized governments could afford artillery, fortifications, and logistics. The medieval world collapsed under the weight of explosives. Gunpowder didn't just end an era, it forced humanity into the modern age. The musket, discipline over skill. Early firearms were clumsy and inaccurate, but they didn't need to be precise. The musket transformed warfare not through accuracy but through organization. From the 16th to 18th centuries, armies drilled soldiers to fire, reload, and maneuver as units. Individual swordsmanship mattered less than obedience and timing. This shift allowed states to field massive national armies. War became bureaucratic, standardized, and industrial in mindset, even before factories. The musket concluded the age of warrior elites. Victory now belonged to discipline. Industrial warfare, total war is born. The 19th century fused industry and warfare. Railroads moved armies faster than ever. Factories produced weapons in staggering numbers. Entire economies became tools of war. For the first time, civilians were directly tied to military outcomes. If your factories failed, your army failed. Wars became longer, deadlier, and more destructive. Victory depended on production, logistics, and national endurance. Industrialization turned war into a societal effort, not just a military one. The machine gun, the end of offensive war. Before the machine gun, commanders believed courage and numbers could break any defense. The machine gun proved them wrong. By the early 20th century, machine guns could fire hundreds of rounds per minute. Attacking infantry were slaughtered before reaching enemy lines. This reality defined World War I. Trenches, stalemates, and unimaginable casualties followed. The machine gun killed the romantic idea of war forever. No bravery could overcome industrial firepower. Nuclear weapons, war becomes unthinkable. In 1945, humanity crossed a threshold it can never uncross. Nuclear weapons didn't just end World War II, they changed the meaning of war itself. For the first time, victory meant annihilation. War between major powers became existential. Global politics shifted from conquest to deterrence. Peace depended not on trust, but on fear. Nuclear weapons didn't prevent war everywhere, but they prevented the biggest wars imaginable: information and surveillance warfare, war without battlefields. The most important invention of modern war isn't a weapon, it's information. Satellites, cyber warfare, intelligence networks, drones, and surveillance systems decide conflicts before shots are fired. Economies are attacked digitally. Elections are influenced remotely. Wars begin silently. Victory now depends on data, perception, and control of narratives. The battlefield is everywhere and nowhere. Modern war is fought long before soldiers arrive. Every invention on this list was born from fear, survival, and ambition. Each reshaped not just war, but the world itself. Technology may change, human nature does not. And as long as war exists, innovation will follow, whether we are ready for it or not. I hope you enjoyed the video. There were a list of weapons of war not featured in the video, so I may do a part 2 to this video and cover some more. Until then, please consider subscribing to the channel to keep updated with future videos. Thanks for watching.